The cool autumn air wrapped gently around Seoul as soft golden light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Koch's International Conference Hall in Gangnam. Inside the grand auditorium, hundreds of attendees had gathered for a special cultural talk event titled The Art of Healing Through Life's Seasons. It was meant to be a reflective evening, calm, quiet, elegant, exactly the kind of space where Song Hye-kyo often shined with her reserved grace and understated presence. No one expected anything unusual. No one expected a tremor that would ripple across the entire nation. But it happened. Song Hye-kyo stepped onto the stage in a cream-colored dress that swayed lightly with each measured breath. She greeted the audience with her signature calm smile. The hall fell into a soft hush, the kind of silence reserved for moments of reverence. Reporters adjusted their lenses, fans held their breath. Even in a room filled with lights and people, she carried an aura of solitude, serene, composed, and untouchable. The discussion began with gentle questions about her career, her recent projects, and her evolving perspectives as an actress. She answered with the same poised confidence she had displayed for decades. But beneath her serenity, there was a subtle vulnerability, one that only a few could sense at first. The moderator then shifted to a deeper theme. In the last 6 years, what has shaped your growth as a woman and an artist? The question hung in the air. Some members of the audience instinctively held their breath, sensing the weight behind it. 6 years was not just a chronological marker. In Korean entertainment, 6 years was a phrase tied to a silent history, one the public had long stopped expecting her to revisit. After all, she had never once spoken his name since the divorce. Not on television. Not in interviews. Not even in passing. Song Joong-ki had become a chapter sealed shut. A door she had never reopened. Until now. Song Hye-kyo paused, her hands resting on her knees, tightened ever so slightly. For the first time that evening, she looked away from the bright audience lights and toward the far corner of the hall, as if searching for a memory she had buried long ago. The quietness deepened. Even the air felt still. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, fragile, like porcelain touched by winter air. It's hard to explain, but the person I was 6 years ago, she was hurting. The entire hall froze. No one spoke. No cameras clicked. Even the faint hum of the air conditioner felt muted. She continued slowly, carefully, as though each word demanded courage. There were moments when I felt lost. Moments when I doubted myself. Moments when I wondered if I had failed someone, or if someone had failed me. Her eyelashes trembled, the usually immaculate composure of Song Hye-kyo cracked just enough for emotion to slip through. And for a long time, I tried to forget everything. I thought silence would protect me. She didn't mention his name. Not yet. But everyone knew. Heart in that room could feel the shifting tide. The moderator hesitated, unsure whether to proceed. But Hye-kyo, everyone's surprise, gently nodded, encouraging the next question. Do you ever think about that period of your life now? For a moment, she looked down at her hands, her dress, the stage floor beneath her. The weight of 6 long years pressed against her ribs. And then, as she lifted her head, everyone could see it, acceptance. Bittersweet yet serene. I do, she whispered. I think about him sometimes, not with anger or regret, but with a quiet understanding. The hall erupted into a wave of muffled gasps. It was the first time in 6 years, 6 years of silence, speculation, emotional distance, that Song Hye-kyo spoke even indirectly about Song Joong-ki. And even without saying his name, meaning was unmistakable. Her voice carried a tremor of truth strong enough to break the hearts of those listening. I believe, she continued, her voice tightening, that people appear in our lives for a reason. Some stay. Some leave. But all of them leave something behind. Even the ones we part ways with. Her eyes glistened, not with melodrama, but with a raw sincerity few had ever seen from her publicly. And I hope, she added softly, he is doing well. The room went silent. A woman in the front row wiped her tears. A man in the press section lowered his camera for a moment, overcome by the unexpected intimacy of her words. Fans who had cherished her strength for years felt their hearts crumble. She wasn't a superstar then, she was simply a woman, remembering, hurting, healing. Outside the hall, news alerts exploded across social media. Song Hye-kyo breaks silence. Song Hye-kyo speaks about the past. Song Hye-kyo mentions him. Hashtags sparked across Twitter and Naver before the event had even ended. People around Seoul, Busan, Daegu replayed snippets of her voice recorded on phones, analyzing every breath, every pause, every syllable that hinted at lingering tenderness or quiet closure. But inside the Koch's auditorium, the moment felt sacred. The moderator swallowed, visibly moved. Asked the question many didn't dare voice. Do you miss that version of yourself, or him? The lights dimly reflected in her eyes as she gave a faint, trembling smile. I miss the innocence of believing everything lasts forever, she said. But I don't miss the pain of losing it. The most honest she had been in years. The confession, subtle, poetic, and heartbreaking, rippled through the hall like a gentle earthquake, shaking every person witnessing it. And when she finally exhaled, shoulders relaxing just slightly, it felt as if she had released 6 years' worth of silent breath. That was the moment fans knew. And spoken to stir the past. She had spoken to finally set it down. Inside, Seoul continued glowing under the night lights. Inside, a nation realized it had just witnessed history. Song Hye-kyo finally, after 6 long years, herself to speak his memory aloud. The atmosphere inside the Koch's hall lingered with trembling silence long after Song Hye-kyo's final words settled into the air. It felt as though everyone was trying to memorize the moment, etch it into their hearts before reality reclaimed it. As the moderator gently shifted the conversation forward, trying to ease the emotional weight that had been spun so tightly in the room, people were still wiping tears, struggling to steady their breath. No one had expected to witness something so human, so raw. The impeccable actress, forever known for her unbreakable composure, had allowed herself to break. Just a little, in front of them. And that single break opened the floodgates to emotions the audience didn't know they were still holding on her behalf. The event finally concluded. The lights slowly brightened. But the mood remained soft, reverent. Fans stood from their seats cautiously, as if afraid their movements might shatter the fragile echo of her confession. Many lingered in small clusters, whispering about the moment she mentioned him. The way her voice faltered, the glimmer in her eyes when she said, "Hope he is doing well." But outside those walls, the world erupted. Within minutes, the foyer of Koch's was flooded with reporters trying to verify quotes, fans rushing to upload videos, journalists huddled over laptops to publish breaking news articles. People who hadn't attended the event waited on the escalators for strangers who had, asking over and over, did she really say it? What exactly did she say? Did she cry? The answer, though simple, was monumental. Spoke. After 6 years, she finally spoke. By the time the first news alert hit Naver, the story was already unstoppable. Headlines multiplied at dizzying speed. Song Hye-kyo breaks her silence after 6 years. Hye-kyo mentions Joong-ki, fans overwhelmed. She hopes he is doing well. Clips from the event spread like wildfire on Twitter and TikTok. Even international fan communities translated her words into English, Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Into a global phenomenon within hours. Fans across Asia shared their reactions, some crying, sending messages of support, others reliving memories of the once iconic couple that had dominated headlines years ago. But amidst the emotional wave, a layer of conversation formed. Why did she speak now? And what made this moment different? At the Koch's exit, a crowd formed around the back entrance where her car awaited. The familiar black van was parked discreetly, surrounded by security. But it couldn't hide from the emotions of the fans who had gathered outside. Some held placards with words of support, clutched tissues. A few simply stood still, hands over their mouths, processing everything. When Song Hye-kyo finally stepped out, the night breeze carried a faint scent of ginkgo leaves. She paused for a moment, looking at the mass of people who watched her with a mix of admiration and tenderness. She offered a polite bow, her eyes still soft, expression quiet but steady. There were no smiles this time, only a gentle, sincere acknowledgement that matched the weight of the evening. Someone near the front whispered, "Unni, are you okay?" Eyes flickered, and though she didn't answer, the silence that followed said more than words could. The car door closed, and as she was driven away under the soft glow of Gangnam's nightlights, conversation continued to swell. The internet divided into theories, some compassionate, some dramatic, some speculative. One group believed she spoke because she had finally healed. Another insisted the question had caught her off guard. Third argued she wanted to finally shut the chapter with grace. A smaller, more emotional group believed she still carried a gentle softness for him, one that wasn't romantic, wistful, respectful, and irreversibly human. Across Seoul, in cafes, subway stations, and late-night convenience stores, the atmosphere buzzed with a story. Elderly couples reading newspapers shook their heads knowingly, recalling how public heartbreak can linger. Young fans cried as they watched the clips over and over, moved by her vulnerability. People who had never followed celebrity news found themselves unexpectedly affected. Because pain and healing transcended fame, they were universal. Meanwhile, Song Joong-ki's name began trending second, just beneath hers. But he remained silent. Had seen the video or not, nobody knew. Speculated about whether his agency would comment, whether he would acknowledge the moment. He even should. In the years since their divorce, he had built a new life, new marriage, new child, new chapter. Better words, gentle, respectful, cast a soft shadow over the narrative, reminding the public that some stories do not end cleanly, they fade, but they remain. Then, something remarkable happened. Fans began posting their own stories of heartbreak and healing, using her moment as a way to confront their own. Hashtags related to her confession. People shared lines like, "She reminded me it's okay to acknowledge the past. Sometimes closure comes years later. She healed a part of me tonight." It was no longer just celebrity news. It had become a collective emotional release. At home, somewhere in a quiet district of Seoul, Hye-kyo likely sat in her living room, perhaps exhausted from the weight of what she had carried into the public for the first time. Perhaps she replayed the moment in her mind, wondering if she said too much, or too little, or exactly what her heart needed to express after years of silence. Just maybe, she felt lighter. Speaking doesn't always reopen wounds. Sometimes, speaking lets them breathe. The industry experts soon weighed in. A renowned cultural critic wrote, "It was not a confession about love. It was a confession about healing." Another journalist noted, her words were not about rekindling the past, honoring the fact that it once existed. By midnight, articles framed her moment not as gossip but as an emotional breakthrough, an emblem of maturity, resilience, and quiet courage. The world had seen her cry on screen in dramas, but tonight, she cried in a way that blurred the line between character and human being. And it touched millions. As the night deepened, a soft stillness settled across the city. Screens dimmed one by one. Social feeds slowed. Tears dried. The echo of her words endured, soft, trembling, unforgettable. Because after 6 long years, Song Hye-kyo had not reignited the past. She had finally laid it down. And in doing so, she reminded everyone watching. Some chapters don't need to be reopened. They need to be released. The world waited to see if Song Joong-ki would respond. But whether he did or not, one truth remained. Her voice had already rewritten the ending.